The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show, coming from a couple of different time zones and going out to many more than that. So looking forward to today, and maybe, contrary to most social media, we're going to go with a little more of a positive platform today and see how that works. So
I was about
Huh?
to say one wildly positive take for the show, though. Wildly positive.
Wildly.
I'm going to get yelled at by people because I take the most negative thing in the world and I actually turn it around to be, I think it might be positive for specifically me and you. So we'll come to that a little later in the show. So wildly positive. Everybody's going to be like, "Nah, you're talking shit." I'm like, we shall see.
Yeah. Yes, you are out in Las Vegas right now.
Yes.
Going to Bill Christmas celebration of life with many more. So I am back home. I'm ready to head to family up in Kansas tomorrow, and then back for a actual Thanksgiving Day at here back in Texas. So always been curious to sponsors pay salary bowlers. The top bowlers get salary. Yeah, not everybody does though. Good morning, Adam.
Should we we should have done a Thanksgiving tier list of the of items on the
items that we're thankful for.
Well, no, I mean like literally on Thanksgiving dinner.
Ooh.
I mean,
yeah. I'm more thankful for ham on Thanksgiving than turkey. Would be my
controversial. Or I could go with, you're one of those ham wankers.
Yeah. Ham is kind of like a pork chop when it's there's no okay. It's either great or one small piece, please. Lots of gravy.
What's better on a house shot, and what's the difference between the Magic Gem and the Storm Journey? This is 100%. It depends your style and where you bowl, like which bowling center you're at. I would say more house shots in America, the Journey is probably going to be better than the Magic Gem because the Magic Gem is probably going to be a little bit too strong. For me, the difference is I'm going to be able to stand, and this is where it gets a little confusing. You're going to be able to stand much further left with the Journey than you are the Magic Gem on most house shots. Because to use the Magic Gem on the house shot, you're going to play the oil line pretty close to the friction and try and control it. Whereas with the Journey, you're going to be able to stand more in the oil, and because it holds energy, you're going to be able to curve it more. So, and that's obviously relative. Like for me, that might be a big difference. For like Tina, for example, it might be 5 or 3 or 4 boards difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Magic Gem should be several feet earlier. I would think in general. So it is relative to whether you're speed dominant and whether or whether what you're bowling on. Do you struggle to get it to pick up more, or do you struggle to for it hooking too much? So both of them do a pretty good job of blending it out. I think both of them are going to be really good on house shots, unless they're a very dry house shot. So, Victor, thankful for your thing. Without it, would have donated.
You're not on your own. There's several of the PBA Tour who felt like the way for a long time.
Yeah.
Now here's somebody we're thankful for. My man, Skillins.
The good and the great.
We'll see. We'll
So we're
see.
going to see him in about
10 days.
10 days, give or take.
You had a procedure done on your eyes yesterday. Not really going past HIPAA with just saying that. So you were quite thankful for that because you didn't get to see my face as every other picture on Facebook yesterday. How many 300s do you have, Stu? Because it was the 20th or whatever day it was, the 20th of November, which was exactly 2 years since Tina came up with one of our more controversial boards, which said, if you're still counting 300s, you haven't shot enough. And every year since, the 2 years since, I get inundated with, who does this prick think he is? Etc., 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 because people have no chill. So, Matt, if you have to ask,
How many do you have, Matt?
yeah, don't tell me you're a counting wanker. So, of course, poor Gohagen, who counts them, got tagged in it about 40 times.
Yeah.
And Adam Barter's brother constantly tells you how many he has. And
Hey,
it's just like,
it's okay. We all have our own Super Bowl. It's all right. My Super Bowl has to do with my bank account, not what I tell everybody.
I was about to say, the answer to that, Ogle, is 2 PBA titles. How many 300s have you shot? 2 PBA titles.
Enough to have 2 national titles. That's right.
So it's one of my favorites. There was years and years ago, there was a post that said, would you rather bowl 900, win a PBA title, or win an eagle?
Yeah.
And everybody was, voting like, oh, I'd rather win an eagle, whatever. And, oh, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And Brett Wolf responded, well, 900. Why would I have to choose between an eagle and a PBA title? I got both the same day because he won the Masters. So that was like
that's pretty funny.
Pretty good response, right?
Yeah.
And my man Simo just checking in. I like it when you just check in. I've got none of your merch on today, though. It didn't make it to Vegas. Sorry, bro.
How many 300s do you have, Simo? Damn wanker. To be fair, I mean, he's only 24. He should be able to still count them, right?
So anyway, I do need to. Yes, snowman entries. I've already paid my spot. I paid for both sides of it as well. So stop cat when I quit bowler league. I do have to do an apology here though. Trey Ford found the he got the wrath of Stu for no real reason. He tripped a couple of 4-pins and it cost us cash in. And I, at the end of that day, was fried rice. I was pissed. So yeah, in hindsight, Trey, you weren't quite as fortunate as I might have vocalized at the time. But it was a long day.
Perhaps a little up in her feels a little bit.
I left a paralyzer 5. You tripped the big 4. Kind of upset me.
Seems like he's completely over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Regina. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it, Nico. Tony, take care of that body, man. Also, who is it? Carrie Murph. It's not Carrie Graham now, but had knee surgery a couple weeks ago. So, to all those people going through that, have we? No, not yet, unfortunately, and I can't for another week. So,
yeah, we're going to be a little bit behind on that one. I have had a couple of reports of people throwing it. It flared a little bit more than one of the guys who drilled it expected. So he was going to drill another one a little weaker to see how that worked out. Because theoretically, flare's good, but flare often works out to be not that great for the urethanes. There's a really like sweet spot, I think, with the urethanes, and if you get them to flare too much, they're super, super early, which is what you want, but then they kind of like don't really continue. And if you get them a little weaker, then that's kind of nice because they continue a little bit. But if you get them too weak, then they just go dead straight. So it's like, yeah, finding that in between is going to be the key. So he drilled his a little weaker than his pitch black, and it flared significantly more with having the IQ weight block as opposed.
Oh yeah,
to
I guess that makes sense.
Block.
Yeah.
So if guys are yeah, it probably wouldn't have been good for either of us if you'd have chirped back at me at that point.
Yeah, you're already in for a penny, in for a pound at that point. So, talking about the snowman, what is the dates of the snowman? And for those who don't know, this is the tournament that's at this center in Fire Lake. They're in Oklahoma. This is the hand-oiled doubles, double elimination, 3-game total pins. Bring your spare ball, and also your Dulles ball may also look like your spare ball. You just don't quite ever know. So,
yeah, Frankie, I bowl with Frankie, and Frankie usually brings 3 balls, one of which is his pitch black to shoot spares, and he's willing to sacrifice 2 balls.
What are the dates this year?
The balls don't make that much difference.
Remind them of the dates again this year.
It's the first weekend of January. It's always the first weekend of January. So that is, I don't know.
I will be at team trials.
6th and 7th. So this Calcutta's on the 5th.
Yeah, it is right in front of the Players' Championship there in Wichita. But it's on the back end of the weekend of Team USA. So unfortunately, I will not be there. But I do miss that tournament. That's it. David Smith. Oh, we got it.
Let me just thank Good Bowler for the super sticker. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. And then Daniel had a question. We'll do that first.
Yep.
I know neither of you are two-handers, of course, but should a two-handed push away and swing be free like a one-handed backswing or use more muscle?
When I watch Belmo and Simo, I guess it's somewhere in between. I mean, one of the few really free pushaways is probably Pete. Everybody else has a little bit in there, and I don't think an all muscled backswing is. It doesn't mean you can't, because there's lots of people that have them, both one-handed and two-handed. But in general, to be more repetitive day over day, a little less muscle with that push away will help lead into a little higher level of consistency day to day is how I see it.
Yeah, I think as with a lot of things, I think about as you're pushing it away, you're not really trying to pull it back. You're trying to get your feet past that spot. So the ball actually doesn't really move. You move, if that sort of makes sense. You kind of alter your position, but the ball stays in somewhat of a pretty small spot.
Yeah.
But it feels like
if you take from the side, it feels like it's moving a lot. But in reality, it's just you're moving by the ball.
Yeah. And with two-handed, I think that's especially true because their backswing literally is limited by how long their left arm is. Not all two-handers are ogle, where their knuckles scrape on the ground as they walk. So, I'm only teasing, but Matt looks like he has almost a regular backswing because he has really long arms.
He has basketball wingspan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas a regular
Simo does not.
Yeah, exactly. So his backswing is always going to be way shorter than Matt's because it's limited by his left hand and it can only go so far. Like, for example, for me, my left arm might not be necessarily that short, but it's got to go around the detour that's on the front of my body. So that would make it very difficult for me to like pull it back a lot. It's kind of why overall guys who are kind of out of shape, it makes it kind of difficult to bowl two-handed because you're limited
Well,
by
if you
how.
have a limited amount of flexibility on top of it, and
Yeah.
it's why you don't see a lot of guys in their 40s change over to two-handed. It's not that they don't want to right now; it's that they're limited by physique and flexibility more often than not. So there you go. Recent North Texas Hall of Fame inductee David Smith. Everyone has a plan until the shim gets wrecked. That said, I'm curious about your urethane strategy for next season and what to watch for. And for those of you talking, the PBA has not banned urethane, but however, they've made you throw harder ones. And so right now, there's really only one. Brunswick has to have one that's going to be out in the next few minutes, but IQ 78 and the new is urethane-ish, kind of like UC3 and Zen U urethane-ish. So I think guys are gonna have to play further right and use urethane more as hold. The majority, unless you have really good speed control, like Belmo might still be able to curve it some, but I do think it'll actually create hold again versus hook when people use it. Instead of just shoving oil down into a break point.
I think that you're asking two of the wrong people here because mine and Chris's urethane strategy is probably, yay, everybody else isn't using it. We're not forced to. Just as a general thing. Yeah. I mean, as we haven't thrown that ball, I'm probably going to try and get a hold of a couple because I think that finding the one you like with the layout when you're the first guys trying to do it is going to be a little interesting because it's a new weight block with a different cover. So we'll try and get those balls drilled as quickly as possible. But like I say, I'm not back until Friday, and Chris is somewhat on the IR till the start of next week. So it's probably going to be the middle of next week before we can get anything done. The other thing as well is it takes, yes. He also said this, which was nice. We like this comment.
That could be arranged.
Yeah.
Any day but next Thursday.
Yeah. Are you saying Tyrant? No, I'm saying that your wingspan for a regular human being is slightly shorter than your height, and Ogle is about a foot taller than Simonson. So, of course, his arms are way longer.
Unless you're an NBA player, of which over 90% of NBA players have a wingspan that is longer than their height. Is more than their height, which is a complete outlier. And
when you see NBA players who aren't massive, like hugely tall, but are fantastic defenders, their wingspan is almost always about 6 inches longer than their height, which is why they just block passes all the time. The wingspan thing is a bit like, the length of your forearm is somewhat similar to your shoe size and all of that. It's just one of those weird things.
And this is how you create speed without super long arms. So,
hey, Glenn, thanks for joining the show again. Thanks for being a great supporter all year. Says, happy Thanksgiving. Are either of you going to be at the South Point from January the 2nd to the 4th? No.
I'll be in Vegas, but not at South Point.
Yeah, which center are they bowling at?
I believe it's Gold Coast.
Oh, okay. I just wondered with them having the Masters at Suncoast.
I believe it's still Gold Coast, but
that's going to be. I'm kind of excited about going out to Suncoast because I think I've only ever bowled there once.
I'm not sure I've ever been in it in 30 years of bowling out there. So, I think the women have bowled something there. So
Does Simo responded, is he willing to send me a signed chamois? Simo, I don't send stuff out. I'd be broke. If you see me at an event at an appropriate time, ask. Yeah. If he's looking like he's about to murder someone, asking for a chamois is probably going to get you an interesting response. But 95% of the time, he's not in that mood. So just don't ask people while they're bowling.
yeah, I'm certainly not in Simo's range these days, but once upon a time, if you sent out a jersey, a thing, an autograph to everyone that asked for one, in Simo's position right now, he would probably spend about $2,500 in postage each year. And if you want something, the easiest way is to send a postage paid, self-addressed envelope with the item that you would like signed in it. That will increase your chances tremendously. Or just an envelope and ask for a picture, which most of the time we have those. But mine are just way older now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. After your 580 set last night, we just can't wait to have you on, Alan. Good job. Nice work. Paying the bowl league for the first time forever. You just can't stop giving away points every week.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Huge Nut is back. Haven't been around for a while. How we doing, boss? I only remember this. I remember him being on the show I did with Luis Napolis, and Luis thought that was the best name ever. Huge Nut. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.
Good Bowler sent us a sticker earlier, so we'll count this as your question, I guess. Thoughts on guys coming in tour in their late teens, early 20s versus later in life, such as early to mid 30s. There any challenges one way or the other for the players? Not too many guys come out at that age, at least anymore. I didn't come out on tour until 28, which was the high roller, into the high roller era. So a few of us waited a little longer to come on tour, but it's a little harder to say. I think at 28, certainly I was more mature and ready for some of those challenges of the travel and the stuff that goes around it. But I certainly probably missed out on some of my prime physical peak years by not having come out. So,
yeah, I mean, I came out late also, but that was because I was born on the European tour. So, I don't know. Yeah,
it's a tough place to get lessons, but you kind of have to get the lessons either way. I guess whether you come at 28 or you come at 18. Maybe you're a little more ready to handle them when you're a little later, or you've learned some of them ahead of time. But the tour is the tour. So,
yeah, I think experience is a little overrated, until you don't have any. I think it's one of those things where it's like talent level is always way more important than experience. Like in my experience, because I just feel like the worst thing anybody can do is come to a tournament and say, well, I just need to get the experience, because you immediately give yourself like a reason why you're not winning. Like, I don't think when Simo bowled his first event, he was like, man, I'm here for the experience.
No.
So I just in general, I'm talking about not on the PBA tour, just in general about things. I don't believe that if you're not competitive, Like when you go to an event, like if you're a junior and you want to pay a PBA regional and like you end up coming in the bottom 10, I don't find that to be almost in any way productive for you. Like I know that like you wouldn't have let Ryan compete in tournaments where there was no chance of him cashing. Like you don't bet if you're not competitive in the event, you don't benefit anything from it because you don't understand what's going on. You're just there.
You're too far away to apply it. Yeah, you do have to have the entry fee, and that's what I call the talent side to be there.
And
if you're not,
but like I say, that's just for me. I think that people think that just entering, you're going to gain something from it. And I just don't think that's true unless you're competitive within the event. I just don't think that like you just become what I call a tourist. You're just there to take pictures with the players. You're not really there to compete in the event. And that's just pointless.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was 50 in 2020, and but that was a pandemic year, so we didn't have a senior tour. So, yeah, that's good. I guess they bought some events there.
I was about to say it's way out there.
Yeah, it's out by here.
Jeremy, what's going on? I saw you guys at Plano. How did you all do? Happy Thanksgiving. We didn't have our best stuff, shall we say. My team didn't cash. Chris' team did cash. Going into the last game, my team was cashing and Chris' team wasn't cashing. So you can kind of see where we were. We were just hovering around the cash line. I think I bowled a little bit better than Chris did, but it didn't really get me anything. I had bad game twos. So in Saspa, that was totally pointless.
I lost a little money in the brackets, lost more money in the tournament.
Yeah, so I averaged, I think, 242 and I made $15 in action. So, or 241, whatever it was. So good.
I counted on my sugar mama. She, her team led and finished second. So she carried the band for the team. Speaking of which, she's over here.
Oh, I'm standing here. I'm sitting here.
So,
hi.
How are you feeling?
What's going on?
Not much. Not.
And he look handsome. His eyes look good, huh?
Yeah. I said he looks like he's just come off the yacht in Saint Tropez. It looks like they tanned him as well. he said it was
all lighting. It's all lighting.
We set it up special today just for him to make him look shiny.
Yeah,
shiny and new. Shiny and new. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Wish we had been in Vegas to hug and squeeze everybody. We were thinking about everybody there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It was definitely a emotional night.
Sure.
Saying bye to Bill. A lot of guys came from a lot of miles away, so that was nice to see. All of the Asian distributors came. Brando and his wife came from Australia. Belmo came. He landed on Saturday. And as the event finished at 6, he said, well, I'm going to take a nap and I'll be back around 9 to hang out with everybody because he was a little bit all over the place time-wise. Yeah, it was, like I say, it was a spectacular night put on by Storm, but like there wasn't a person there who really wanted to be there rather than, have Bill going, God damn it, Stu, are you ever going to win? 17th's nice, but I don't sell balls coming 17th. Just win a fucking ball with it. But, So it was quite funny because they had like an open mic, for people to, go up there and speak and like, Belmont went up there and Norm Duke went up and then Ron Wood, one of Bill's longtime friends, went up and then Glenn Carano of El Dorado family fame went up. That was pretty cool to see a guy whose family owned multiple casinos stand up there talking about the good times with Bill. So that was that was pretty good. Robert Dong had quite a moving 10 minutes talking about his times with Bill and some of the things they'd done. Tyler rounded off the evening, revealing that they'd set up a new they had a new limited edition ball for Bill. So I don't know if they've still got any left, but it's a teal storm with Bill's signature on it. So that was kind of nice. I think the thing that I thought was most fun was the amount of us who were stood at the back going, the problem is my favorite Bill story really isn't appropriate for a Mike night. So, we kind of laughed and joked about some of the, fun times we'd had. And my favorite, the thing I'll always remember about Bill is like how pissed off he was every year about Bowl Expo and how much money they ended up spending. And the one year he said he was going to get, he goes, God damn it, I could get Peyton Manning to stand next to me at a booth and hand out $100 bills and it'd be cheaper than this. And then the next year we'd be back at Bowl Expo with a huge booth. And, oh dear. It was always like, it's always fun, like, just reminiscing about some of the fun times. And I remember one time I bowled the US Open. I've said this a couple of times, and the US Open, the BPWA or whatever, screwed up the prize fund. So there was a huge difference between 5th and 6th. And like 5th had too much money. So it wasn't like 6th was like too less. It was like, but the difference was probably like 4,000, I think. And 5th didn't make the show. And I was bowling and somebody Brooklyn in the 10th frame to beat me, and I was fucking pissed. And somebody in the crowd was like, "You just got to deal with it. Them's the breaks," or something like that. Just what you need, right? And Bill turned and just like laid into this guy like, "What would you know about it? These guys," and it was like, my man.
We got your back.
Yeah. Bill always had everybody's back. Like, there was nobody who wasn't like, if you were bowling for Storm, there was nobody who was rooting for you harder than he was. Like, the amount of shit on Facebook that he'd reply to was just it was just amazing.
Yeah. Just reading me. Hi, everybody. It's nice that people are saying hi. Thank you. I just popped in for a minute. Just want to say hi. See what was going on. Send my thanks to everybody. Barnzy has a smoke show. Oh, who's BV?
Yeah. Hey.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
DM
me. Luke, they're probably delayed because we get sidetracked by a question, and if a lot of questions come in, we kind of skip over some and go back to some, and so when the chat is actually more alive, we're way further behind. If we're really on time with the chat, it's probably because the show is going real slow. So
you guys were doing okay. I was listening. You guys were doing all right.
Happy Thanksgiving, Linda. What's your favorite league balls?
Favorite league balls? Zen, Mix, and Blackout.
There we go. I was like, sitting here going, say the absolute.
Well, that's in there too.
It is in there, actually.
Yeah, it depends on where I'm bowling. Plano versus Louisville is different stuff, but I like the one that strikes.
Chris, get rid of it. Get rid of a look. Somebody says they agree with BV.
All right, you're gonna have to leave now.
I have to leave. All right. Sorry.
I can't afford to lose you, so.
Oh, sweet. Half is half. All right. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanks.
Give Tina and family a hug.
Yeah, I will do. I'll celebrate your made-up holiday with them.
New host, yes, upgraded. I understand. But
that's my.
Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
For me, the Blackout is stronger overall, way more angular down the lane. The Absolutes, for me anyway, is a much smoother ball. just a bit weaker overall for me.
Favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Stuffing or dressing if it's not done inside the bird. That's Tina's favorite Thanksgiving trivia. But if you make the stuffing separately, it's dressing. It's not stuffing because it wasn't inside the bird.
I guess that's fair. We need grammar police everywhere, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, the things that I dislike the most are like anything that's like ridiculously covered in cheese, and any of the like randomly sweet things, because I find sweet and savory at the same time very odd. So, like yams with marshmallows in them and things, like no.
Yeah, the desserts afterwards always are a hit.
Oh yeah, apple pies, like all the rest of that, all good.
My mom makes a thing we call it scallop corn, but I don't even think that's correct description. But it's like Ritz crackers and corn and cream of corn, and that one's always it brings back happy memories. So that one's always a winner.
Yeah, that's for me. Corn casseroles are about the only time that it's ever acceptable to eat corn. Most pointless item ever comes out almost exactly the same as it went in. If you don't chew, it comes out exactly the same as it went in.
And it's
why does it
collects a little on the way though. It's kind of a roto-rooter for the system. So
Hey Austin, thanks for the super chat. There's went to the Storm Tribal, so match we call those matchmakers, but Tribal is a good description. Love the pie and the clone. Why not so many positive reviews on the clone? It looked very good. The difference between the two. For me, the clone, I just don't want a ball that's that early that's shiny. I just don't really have. It doesn't really fit my eyes. I think it's going to be one of those balls that might be really good if you're bowling on like a long pattern that isn't quite as much volume. That could be a spot where I would think that it would fit like better than say a reality. But that's kind of the issue for me. Like, it's not super strong, but it is quite early. And even with polish, it isn't really that much cleaner than say,
it's a little bit like the exotic gem, but for me, it doesn't. It's not as strong as exotic gem. The pie is more continuous, and kind of comes around the corner more, where the clone kind of stands up and goes forward a touch. If you have enough side rotation, I can see where the clone is pretty good. If you're on some more friction, I think also it can be pretty good. Seen some places where I think that really it makes sense inside of a smaller arsenal. For me, it doesn't make the arsenal, but I've seen some look pretty good for some other people.
It might be a tall ball in the like when you have one of everything.
Niche.
Like, well, when we're bowling on the house shots, you have like 3 or 4 that you really like. Like for me, the absolute looks really good for me a lot of the time. Like I can use speed or my hand to kind of manipulate the friction. Whereas if I want something stronger, I'm probably just going to throw the reality. I don't really need 4 different options of something a bit stronger than an absolute. And then just quickly, it says, what's the difference between the pie and the clone? For me, with the clone having with the pie having the surface, this pie is stronger overall, but I also think it's more angular, even though it's dull, which is kind of a bit not what you'd expect. I feel like the pie and the clone would be a little bit closer if the clone had the surface. Like in overall hook, I think the clone would probably be a little stronger than the pie, but I still think that weight block is quite smooth. The UFO was when that was dull, that ball was very, very smooth, and so like for me, pie is stronger, but it's more off the spot also. The clone is still quite early but shiny, so yeah. I just think that the pie is more of a reaction that people are used to seeing. It's just a slightly cleaner reality for me, the pie.
Yeah.
Whereas the clone is,
I think we're seeing the same things over and over here. So
yeah.
This is kind of an if you know, you know, but for those of you that think every ball review is just strikes and strikes and strikes and strikes, you can go check out PBA 50 Pete Dohan, and you will see not as many strikes in a ball review. So, need to find the edit button, my man. Magpin tomorrow night. That's over at Plano Super Bowl.
That's one tournament that I wish I could actually bowl.
Yeah, I wish they had more of them. The problem is they only have like 8 pairs worth, so it ends up being a giant league session. It takes forever to bowl because you don't strike either. Tons of fun. They just don't have enough of them, and so
Thomas usually does pretty well in that tournament, doesn't he?
He does okay. Paul Henderson has actually done really well the last couple of years. There's a couple guys that, keep it online, hitting flush. It matters for sure.
Brings me quickly. Let's just take Trevor's super chat, and then we'll quickly get back to my super controversial theory. Got to test out some of the new lanes at Broadway Bowl. This is Charlie Mitchell's new center. Thank you to Simon and all of help getting it running. Yeah, Simo's actually, that's why he wasn't in Vegas this weekend. He flew up to help Charlie get the machines all set up. So he helped them when he was up there previously. So just loves it, like a pig in shit with the machines.
He knows it from top to bottom. And also one of the things that fries him out the most is centers that don't take care of it, memorable and pro stops. So if you're coming to town, just know we have a man who knows how to do everything that you're saying is hard to do. And he does it himself. So
Georgie, thanks for the super chat. He said, "Hey guys, what would be a good step down from the Zen?"
Zen Gold is a very
TNT
just a cover only step down.
Yeah, TNT would be another option. Revenant would be another sizable gap option. Currently using Honey Badger, which I find to be too much of a gap. I imagine that the Honey Badger has
even Blackout could be a ball down from there, from the Zen.
Yeah.
A little sharper. We've used X2 in the past. Exponent is a step down as well.
Quite a bit smoother though, Exponent.
Yes, they would be more similar ish shape, but yeah, certainly it's a weaker ball all the way around. That's more of like an IQ Tour type ball. So
yeah, I think
there are quite a few in that range.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like, for me anyway, if I'm using a Zen and I want a ball off it, that's different than if I've got a Zen and I want another ball in my bag. If that kind of makes sense. If it's going to be, I want the Zen and then I want to go to this ball, rather than just having, like, if you like the shape of the Zen, but sometimes it's too strong, then the Exponent might fit the gap better. If you have the Zen and you want something that's literally going to be the ball you use once, the Zen isn't enough. You need something that's more angular. It's like Chris is talking about, the Blackout. That kind of makes sense. Like what you would use as the next ball is different than if you want the same shape, just less of it.
If you want something like a Honey Badger, but a little stronger, I would say the Hustle Rip probably fits in that range right now. So
okay. So here's my controversial take.
All right, I'm gonna take.
I think that string pins are going to be good for one-handers because I think that one of the biggest hits that the two-handers get, the messenger from the head pin to the 10 pin, is basically not going to exist because you just never see that hit with the way the strings work. And I think that the 10 pin may or may not be a little easier to fall over. And most of the reason why higher level one-handers struggle is because they're trying to manipulate their ball roll to get it to go through the pins. And I think that if maybe the 10 pin is falling over a little easier, then maybe they won't be manipulating as much. And as an added bonus, splits are easier, it seems, to spare when you throw it a little harder. And in general, most high-level one-handed bowlers are going to throw it harder than most two-handers. Like, I can throw it harder at spares than either Simo or Belmo because they don't use their thumb. It's physically impossible to throw it that much harder. So that's my take. I actually think that a lot of the people who are complaining are traditional one-handed bowlers of, I'll never bowl with this. But I actually think that it might end up helping them.
Yeah, once you see the other ones, I do think that a lot of the things with the firmer spare ball, I think that goes away with the more certified length strings as well, because the pit has to be further back and deeper as well. There's a couple of things that have to go into that. So, but it could be possible.
Like I don't know. Oh, thanks, man. I honestly, when I clicked on that, I was worried that you were saying this used to be my favorite channel. Now you're defending strings.
This is my partner last weekend in the SASBA. He bowled great. We had a little rough finish there, but yeah, I really enjoyed bowling with him. Somebody I didn't know well before that. It's one of the cool things about bowling. You get to bowl some people you didn't know before. And speaking of expert, drastic difference between the sanction. Yeah, that's no kidding. Probably watched the World Games, which was their debut, and other way to put it was an idiotic move by
the biggest
Valero by Cubica to put those out before they were ready for a real competition, and then try and defend it.
To be honest, the worst part of that was when they had judges to decide whether it was too late for the pin to have fallen or not fallen.
Yeah.
Like that was like, but anyway, I think that regardless, I still think there's going to be less messengers. And I think that is a big deal because a messenger is just a flat 10.
Yeah.
And the one-handers are way more experienced at flat 10 than the two-handers.
Yeah. Oh, I used to tell Tommy and Westbeck, I said, it's just a bad shot that still hit the pocket. And they looked at me like it's crazy. Like, I've never lined up to hit the spot that you basically hit every frame in my life. I don't ever line up to flat 10 and hope the head pin hits it. I just go flush. So if you were good enough, you would too. They didn't believe me. They just kept beating me doing that. Will you count your 300 string pins?
Yeah, I'm still counting those. 0. I can almost count my 200s on string pins at Calderon's place. That's still 0.
Do you guys remember
that one?
We each
both.
Yeah, I use it. He used switch grip. So if you drill more than 4 or 5 balls in a year, to be honest, really, if you have 6 balls, I would say get interchangeable thumbs. You probably drill more than if you have 6 and drill more than 2 a year. I would just do that. It's easier on both sides. You don't have fit issues. There's a lot of things that get way easier.
What the term that I used here is the Beef and Barnzy show is diversified within the market. We're both Vice and Turbo.
Yes. I can't dislike it that much when it's paying bills. Well, that's a fact. But you don't have to go there next year. So, yeah. No, it turns out that you bowl pretty well regardless of how the maintenance is or isn't. So, there's also that.
Did you go in with a negative attitude though, Roger? And also, was it only the pins that was the problem? Like, I love bowling. I'm going to bowl regardless. Like,
Yeah.
if we end up the bowling changes and it's on strings forever, there's going to be part of me that's a bit sad. But but I like bowling more than I like bowling on free fall pins. Like, you know, bowling's giving me a lot. I'm not. It's not a scenario where I'm going to be like, oh, they did this, I'm not going to do it. Like,
Yeah, I don't love the ones that where you throw it through the face and everything kind of falls over and it swings around. I get it, but we're not really talking about that.
well, I had that with Trey and freefall pins.
Yeah, it happens.
Sorry, Trey. I hope you're not watching anymore.
He really is over it. I swear. I swear.
But that's the other thing. It's like I keep seeing these videos, you know, of like a stupid strike with strings. I'm like, as if I've never seen a stupid strike with like regular pins.
Yeah. I mean, I call the roll too a Tommy Jones for, well, yeah, I still do. Never mind. But yeah, you see stuff like that all the time. Speaking of the ex-PBA tour guys, if they could curve it, the worse you throw it, the bigger the messenger. There you go. I couldn't get anybody convinced about it, but I was trying. I guess the other thing, Roger, what sucked about it? Was it hard or was it? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just had to. We missed this one. Sorry, Adam.
Oh, yeah. Adam, as
I mean,
many balls you drill, if you struggle with fit, yes, I think you have a pretty good pro shop guy there, though. If you don't have any issues, no big deal. There's obviously at the beginning, there's a little bit extra work on the front end, but then, you know, once you have probably three to four thumbs, you know, you're good for a long time.
yeah.
I tend to have six, and that's mostly because when I practice, I don't want to switch them in and out every single ball. So I throw a bunch of them for practice. I have one or two that use probably 80% of the time. And then there's days when your thumb just feels different. So even though they're exacticated thumbs and all that, some thumb feels a little different than another one. Taped it a little different, whatever it is. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, if you're using a different interchangeable, I don't know that there's like, unless you're having serious issues, I don't think it's worth, you know, changing from turbo to Jopo or from Vice to turbo or whatever. Like, but yes, I think that using an interchangeable is, I mean, I've been using them since about 2004. So I was on the train a long time ago and I'm quite thankful for it. Every time I watch Duke work a ball out, I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I've been using molds since the 90s. Exactication. I was just talking with John Nakashima about it the other day, that we were probably the only two people in there that knew exactly what that, what it originated at.
yeah.
There. But after traveling overseas, you know, in the early 90s with Team USA, I'm like, not every place has a pro shop. Not every place could drill an oval thumb hole. Not every place could you explain it either, because there was different drill presses and we just didn't know as much as you know now. And the drill presses weren't as good. And so it became a must to have molds and have your thumb with you when you went. And then that evolved into interchangeables, which has made things, I can't even tell you how much time we've saved by not having to work out thumb holes, not having to even install molds into there and then letting them sit, worrying about them cracking, you know, using epoxy to do them right. But then you have to wait an extra hour and not having an hour because it's in between blocks. There's all kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of good reasons to use interchangeable thumbs. Both of them have really refined. I haven't used any of the other stuff, so I can't say. Some people seem to like Jopo, but I think we're pretty big on the companies we're with. So,
yeah. Not in my experience. Like the only time that I ever have an issue with my mold is if you use it for a really long time. It tends to get it can get a little hard or whatever, and then you kind of might have to get a new one. But that's a long way down the track.
the biggest thing I see is depending on which material you use, if you're pouring the molds, that eventually, because it contracts as it gets harder, you end up using a little bit more tape in the mold than you do in the original one that you do. So over time, I actually started putting a little bit of, because I have some tape in the front, I would leave a piece or two in the very front in the mold. And then one, it helps me line up the tape on every one of them. But also, it limits how much tape I was putting in. So, do you guys still see urethane being important in USB-C events? Even though PBA, they didn't ban them, they just have to use the harder one. But of course, they're going to use them in USB-C because those balls hook so early and so much more than urethane that stays above 73. That when the lanes are hard, control is a huge thing. So in Team USA events and some of that, and unfortunately, in my opinion, it's they don't want to address the fact of what the balls are doing during use, and they don't have a rule set up for it, and so it's a hard thing for them to enforce as well. But I wish they would go to the PBA rules so we could all be on the same platform. To say that urethane gets softer in every other way possible except when used seems counterintuitive, and it doesn't pass the eyeball test from what we see either. That we tend to throw older pitch blacks. I can only go by those because I haven't used the other ones, but I'm not drilling up a new one every time and feel like it hooks more. That's not really the way it plays out. So
real quick, I actually see the urethane being less and less important in the USB-C events, like the ones that we bowl, the Masters and the US Open. The US Open specifically, because we bowl in a center that hooks a lot, and we also bowl like 4 different patterns, and they've managed to make a good job of like making them different enough that it's not kind of like a World Series where a guy can camp out in the same spot.
Basically use the same ball in all the patterns.
Yeah.
No,
So the Masters is a bit hit and miss. I suspect that he kind of liked what happened with that long pattern last year, and we'll do something similar to that again, but we'll see.
Yeah. Length plus a surprising amount of volume compared to what we've seen historically. USB-C actually bridging the gap into higher volumes before the PBA, which is also a little bit counterintuitive. Seems like the place where you have stuff every week, it would happen faster, but it has not. But yeah, being at Woodland is not a place where urethane typically looks that good. And so from a venue standpoint, I don't think we'll see as much, but we'll see what happens.
So
Barnzy and beef right now. I can fix that. There we go.
This is fun. If you really want to be a traditionalist, I think human pin setters definitely went away when they saw Oscar throw one spare shot. And I've been in a bowling center where it's been a mechanical pin setter, and Oscar's hit a mechanic with a pin as they're walking by. Flew out the machine, cut the one guy's head open, flew down and hit the other guy in the knee. He actually got both mechanics with the same spare.
Jeez.
Yeah, we were bowling, and like the mechanic comes out with this red rag on his head, like, and I'm like, what on earth is going on? And the other guy's like limping around, and they go, yeah, the pin flew out the machine, hit me in the face, bounced, then hit my knee. I was like, God damn, Oscar.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go pretty quick here, but we do have another super chat. Thanks, Rev. Challenged Magic Gem, Infinite Physics, Virtual Blackout, Journey, Fate, Absolute Exponent, 300 rev rate, 13.5 speed on the monitor, so 16-ish. Best options for sport shot tourneys. It's a pretty complete. Fate is your weakest ball, but you have plenty of speed for your rev rate, so I don't know that you need a lot below that. A control ball somewhere in there. You have a lot of balls that change shape. Other the exponent, it'd be your
Yeah, overall, I don't think you've got like a glaring error in my mind.
Talking about small pieces there.
Yeah. I mean, you like a phase 2 would be an option you could add, but to be honest, between the infinite physics and the exponent, I think you somewhat have that covered. I would still like to see a weaker symmetrical ball, just because I think that with having kind of a slower speed, having one of those balls that you can play a little further right with, like one of the hustles or whatever. Tina is kind of a little less rev rate than you, but in that sort of speed, and she gets a lot of use out of her hustle wine still, just because the other balls burn up.
Favorite?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I say, she just sees the balls burn up, and then so for her, she finds the hustle wine is hooking a lot more than, say, I don't know, her blackout, just because it doesn't lose energy in the front part of the lane, and she doesn't necessarily have the speed or the rev rate to move way further left to get into where the oil is. So
that's a good note too, that rev dominant doesn't mean that your rev rate's two-handed necessarily. There's a lot of ways where I'm more rev dominant than my son or Simo, even though my rev rate's lower, and the Tina's rev dominant as well, and because of ball speed. And you need what you need. Talking about Oscar clipping both mechanics. Nice spare. The Wichita State reel, actually, for those of you that might have caught it, of them imitating Wii bowling from Once Upon a Time. Since it was way more fixed for our crowd, I think, than the people their age. I'm not sure how many of them did Wii bowling, but it was pretty clever. Made me laugh. Didn't make Ryan very happy. It was during practice time, and he doesn't like wasting time like that. But
oh well.
Yep. Got to relax every once in a while.
When you all do it, do you all use blank inners and insert your molds? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also done both. Turbo have a material that I think is very good. I think it's called white urethane, but you can color it. But for me, that comes out as close to a drilled slug as I could imagine. It's a little more durable, like the quick plug ones. For me, crack a lot because I track really close to the thumb. So kind of a nightmare for me with that. Small inside baseball sort of tip. If you use the turbo urethane, it goes off slower. So they actually come out a little bigger. So now, if I come back and I haven't bowled a lot for like a week, I'll actually pour a couple of molds with quick plug. And because they go off quicker, they squeeze the mold a little bit. And they're a little bit smaller. So my winter slugs are often the quick plug ones, even though they crack, because they're a little bit tighter. Whereas the one that I use, the true urethane, they come out like at least a full piece of tape bigger.
Wow.
So it might be something you want to play around with a little bit, Chris, but I've noticed that recently. So I can get all, exactly the same shape, just a little bit.
Right. Yeah, winter versus summer. Huh. I do have to go, but How do you fellas prepare for overseas tournaments? Do you have balls waiting for you at the location? Typically, no. Balls are way more scarce overseas because they cost so much more. So even if they do have them, it's not a free for all like it is on the tour. There's not a truck or anything. So you take your 6, which is about all you can fly with reasonably, and this is why we have so much Arsenal conversation that applies to people who don't get free balls, because 6 is really the most you can take most of the time reasonably.
Yeah, about the only place that we ever get balls when we get there would be Asia, and most of the time you have no clue what that ball's going to do because it's a ball you've never seen before in your life.
Yeah.
And from experience, when someone says, "Oh, it's just a different color phase too," that could mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But
the only time I really had success with that was when we were with one brand only and we weren't throwing all 3 brands. And so I knew our stuff. And so you knew it was only that cover, and you can make some best guesses, but yeah, it's pretty tough to do. So anyway, I want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving, whether you celebrate it or don't, no matter which part of the world you're watching this from. Or which one you celebrate in general, even though you're, that's somewhat assimilated to the country you live in.
Yeah. I just like getting around and like get-togethers are fun, regardless of what you're celebrating. This
one's a little more universal than July 4th for you anyway, or Happy Treason Day, as you call it.
Yeah, exactly. You ungrateful colonial fucks. You're welcome for the language. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Facebook posts that I sent to Tina. Happy Treason Day. You're welcome for the language. Yeah.
Well, we will not be having a show on Thursday. We'll come back at you on Tuesday with whatever may or may not have happened in between now and then.
I will have got in the bowling center on Monday, so I will have thrown the IQ 78 by then. We might not have a full review up, but we will have
at least have some feedback for you,
and I'll have some shots on the show.
Okay. More new balls coming out. A new global one on the horizon. We'll give you updates on that as soon as we see that as well. But between now and then, please support the sponsors that support us. There's a lot of Happy Friday things, Black Friday things going on at Coolwick, at Bowlers Mart, Platinum Ford, all have things going on. Go visit them. Exotic Gem, I believe, is the giveaway ball at Platinum Ford if you have a test drive. So get a chance.
The coolest spare ball.
Or the Platinum Ford spare ball is awesome looking. Please support the sponsors, support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.